What's up, everyone? Welcome to this live stream of podcasting. I'm still figuring this stuff out, really, but I'm trying to do the best I can um, because I now have my actual camera set up, which on camera I'm in 4K, but here I think it's like 480p or something. So that's an adjustment. That's not really. It's more of a tech thing. I did look up to see if maybe I could stream in 4K now, and then I try to use Ecamm Live, and I can't do it for whatever reason. And so I am here on Facebook. Oh, sorry, on Facebook. On YouTube, I'm just doing YouTube Live for now until I figure out the actual Ecamm Live stuff. It was way too last minute. It's fine. It's gonna be fine. No more mustache, as you can see. Gonna start getting this out here so I can lower that music. But anyways, I really want to just jump into this week and or today, really, not really this week, but trying to continue to navigate, and with navigating, I have I've been thinking. Obviously, I've been saying this that I've been saying that I've been thinking a lot and pondering on things, and what I haven't even come with the correct question, but essentially, one thing I do know about myself is that I'm always trying to process and improve whatever I'm doing, whether it's in the medical field, whether it's here doing this, trying to make adjustments to make this stream a little bit better, or make the stream just better quality, or the highest quality I can possibly make it. Um, okay, I'll just make sure this is all good to go. Let me raise this just a little bit. Okay, check. Okay. And with that, when I came up, because I came to that kind of somewhat realization today, just as far as it's like I like improving processes in whatever I'm doing. It doesn't matter what I'm doing. I always try to do better, and sometimes it costs money. Sometimes it doesn't cost money. Because like things that don't cost money are like when I'm reading a book that I've already read. In this case, I said I'm diving into Power of Myth again. So that's more of an intrinsic thing that I can improve, and I guess that's one of the values that I have is improving whatever process, whatever thing I'm doing. Um, and it's like, okay, so what do I do with that? Because I can just continue, just kind of jump. I feel like I can continue jumping around. I don't want to jump around too much. It's not that I'm not already doing that, being in medical and then um, trying to continue this podcast and really document my current thoughts and and kind of what I'm going through. And as much as I'd like to vlog and as much as I'd like to blog every day or things like that, it's like, well, let me take in strikes. I know I like doing this, and I've said that before. But the concept for me of vlogging, it's like the editing is what really holds me back right now. And maybe some of it's laziness, but the other part of it is I feel like the editing and things like that, it actually almost hinders my creative flow. However, um, um, it hinders my creative flow. So then with that, I lost my train of thought. I'm sorry. It hinders my it hinders my flow. So then, like, I feel like I can't keep going. But then that's been like this whole month basically has been me trying to figure out how I'm gonna deload, unload information. And so with that, going back to process and I was literally just driving back from I went to go eat. I didn't go out to eat. I went to eat, and then I went to Best Buy. I bought this tripod for the camera. I'm like, okay, I need a good tripod. I'm like, let me get this camera set up to a point where I can again try to bring the highest level to streaming as I can. Um, And with that, it's like I like trying to make things better, and then from there, I've been in this rabbit hole just today where it's like, okay, I like making these better because whether even in music, like I try to make sure the chords were the right length so that we can get them off stage, have the stage nice and clean. Because some of it was just also mimicking bands that I like to see. Some of the bands that I've gotten to meet from Texas and from Nashville, like where they had clean stage, obviously good and not interfering with everybody else that has wireless systems and whatnot. So that's one thing that again, this is just my intro to this week because I will work following. So I may stream tomorrow, I may not, but nonetheless, this is where I'm at today on Tuesday or Wednesday. Sorry, today's Wednesday, Thursday. So we're midweek already, which really it's fast because in 7 days we're gonna be in February already, which is pretty crazy. And so that's where my head's at for the most part. It's like, okay, process. Like I like process improvement. I like making these better. Um, I haven't mentioned this, so I got an Oculus, which is pretty dope. It's really cool. It freaks me out in the best way possible. I got to try a little bit of VR when actually went to Illinois for a little while and for work, and so I got to be over there and we went to an aquarium and they had a VR setup and I got to try. It was pretty cool. And then now I have an Oculus. So where was I going with the Oculus? Process improving. So in getting the Oculus, you need like a good perimeter of space to be able to use it because you don't want to be punching walls and punching TVs and whatnot like you see on all these hilarious videos. But so I've been so that I can use the Oculus here in my room. I've like minimized a lot of things. I've thrown a lot of things away, trying to keep my room clean. I would say keep my room clean as possible. But like it's more of like even stuff that I do. Like I have like my laundry basket and stuff like that. Trying to minimize all these things, so that I can be able to just kind of put up shop, so that I can then bust out the Oculus and use the Oculus. And so yeah, so that's all of everything from even from last weekend to me, tidying up my room, making my room more clean, however you want to say it. To be able to use Oculus to then today and me trying to, not me trying, me buying this tripod to then put it on this camera so I can see if it streams, learning how to stream. It's all it does go to process improvement. And I was literally on the highway and I'm listening to music, like jamming. I don't know. What was I listening to? Probably Rodney Rogers or I can't think of the other guy right now. The other guy's name. Anyways, I was jamming my normal top jams playlist on Spotify, and I'm driving home, and I'm like, man, like I just bought this thing, and I'm gonna go on. I intend to record this podcast today. Okay, so then what? So like what I didn't, and then I was like process improvement. I'm like, okay, process improvement. That's something that I'm always trying to do. I'm always trying to figure out, okay, how can I do the best things, whether it's the best order, whether it's the most efficient quality, whether it's the order of tasks I have at work, whatever it is. I'm always trying to how can I best sculpt the time so that I can be able to move as fast, but keep my quality of work the highest possible. Man, okay. So now we're here. Now I'm kind of unloading this information here, and we'll see where it goes. Crazy weekend of football, awesome games. The Chiefs and the Bills. If you guys aren't football fans, it's cool. It's something that I wanted to remark about because it was crazy. Like I said, the fact that the first 3 games ended in 3 points, and in the last minute or whatever, I think the Bills and Chiefs had 25 points in the last minute and a half, 2 minutes of the game, a combined score of 25 points. So great weekend of football, and then that's what, for me, that's what football's about. Because for me, it's like between football and UFC. It's like in UFC, they're fighting each other, so that they're throwing punches and knocking each other out and whatever. It's like I want to see blood. That's kind of one of the things I'm like, I'm here to see a fight. I'm not here to see this fight go to a decision, unless it's like a good overall fight. So this weekend was a great uh, what was it, 4 games, AFC and NFC going now. Now we're going to San Francisco and LA play, and then they play, and then Kansas City and Bengals. The Bengals, their game was very interesting, but um, I I feel very confident in saying, we'll see the Chiefs in the Super Bowl, and then I feel like is it Matthew Stafford for LA Rams? I feel like he's earned this chance to go to the Super Bowl, but the 49ers have now earned their chance, I think, to go to the Super Bowl. So I'm looking more for I'm looking forward to I'm looking more forward. What the heck? I'm looking forward to just the matter of fact of San Francisco versus LA. It's gonna be a great game. I really want to watch that one. Um, and then I expect the Chiefs to go to the Super Bowl. If the Bengals win, that'll be probably the greatest upset of this past 2 weeks, and that'll be pretty cool. But I just want to kind of debrief about that because it was a pretty cool weekend of football, and I was texting back home, and whoever I know personally that's into football, it was really cool to see. Really surprised. I mean, Tom Brady. I mean, he did his best, but man, Tom Brady didn't have his best game. Same thing with Green Bay. It just they didn't earn this one. That's why they're not going to the next round of the playoffs. So, that's that. Stock market's down. Now we can talk just a minute of business. This isn't financial advice or anything. I'm just talking about what's actually happening. If you look at the past month, from January 1st to now, the year to dates, they've been kind of coming up a little bit this week. But overall, stock market's down, crypto's down. Very interesting to see. I think they released the inflation rate like the end of December or so, and I think that's having some effect to it. But then there's so much politics involved in where I guess I'm seeing, excuse my naivety, of the fact that how much politics is really involved in the stock market and how the companies function via politics and so on and so forth. But I just wanted to make a comment saying the stock market's down. Save your cash. I think we can all afford to, if you're in the market, if you're in the game, whether it's crypto or the standard stock market, you can save again, this is not financial advice. This is not financial advice. This is not financial advice. But stock market's down, so it's fine. I think it's just gonna be a matter of waiting game and play it out. I mean, if you look at January of last year, it was kind of the same thing, except we had just gotten a new president. Yeah, we had just got a new president. Yeah, and so that's that. I'm not even going to politics because it doesn't matter. Not that it doesn't matter, but it doesn't matter for the goals of this podcast and this stream. So there's that. I talked about process improvements. Oh, one thing I talked about with a person who I was talking about how this new generation. Because there's several generations in the workplace right now. So there's who is it? There could be, I guess, technically Gen X, Gen Y, Gen Z. So I guess Gen X is like they're reaching the latter stages as far as working. Gen Y, the early Gen Y, which is like I feel like the 80s babies, they're doing their thing. We're kind of doing our thing. Then there's like a couple of like subsets of Gen Z that are like I'm just watching them because again I've mentioned this, but now that I'm 30, it's like now I feel like I'm looking at the timeline in reverse in a sense. I'm able to kind of have a detached view of how 20-year-olds act and 21s and 23s and 25s, and then 18s and young, and and I say 18s and younger because of like my relatives who are under 18. So I watch just how they kind of communicate, how they don't communicate, using voice, like messages versus actually being on the phone. It's not even a weird thing. It's a pure observation for me, but it's led me to think and wonder and eventually, hopefully, some of y'all can help me on this, from people who or maybe from your experience, whatever job, whatever line of work you're in. But I'm wondering what's going to motivate, and motivate. It's not actually like using the word motivation, even though it's I've learned that motivation is not going to get you back to the gym. It's not going to get me back to running. It's not motivation. It's me just literally having to drag my shoes and put them on and then go do the thing, right? Whatever, or go run in this case. I'm the case that I'm bringing, the example that I'm bringing. But I am wondering, as far as work goes, and obviously everything's changing. People are streaming on Twitch. People are streaming on YouTube. I'm trying to do this streaming situation more often too, on YouTube. But I'm wondering, I guess the main question again, this ties up to just me having this conversation with this person in a leadership role. Um, I genuinely wonder what's going to motivate and what motivate. I'm genuinely curious to what motivates you, but what's going to motivate these next line of workers? Because I feel like they're doing their own thing, which is fine. I think it's personally fine. Like, they're using technology in a way that they feel like they see fit, that they want to, which is great. I don't. I mean, I'm not opposed to it. It's really odd because we're not the word. Odd because it's out of place it's out of place in the culture and the times that I grew up in and that I've grown up in. And I feel super old saying that, but it doesn't matter. Because I'm genuinely curious. Like, um, why I am genuinely curious. Like, why do you use voice messaging versus just being on the phone, or why don't you like texting? Voice actually makes more sense. I'm just curious as to why. Like, what kind of? I mean, besides it being like a fad of the generation or whatever, I'm more curious like why you prefer that communication versus because I feel like they don't even have an answer. They just kind of do it, and if their friends do it, they're going to do it too. Those who are influenced, those are who are creating the influence, and those who are influenced by those. Um, so yeah, that was the main thing that's I guess that's another thing I've been pondering on, um, as far as what's coming up in the next 10 years. And again, and this goes back to one of my premises of like I'm rarely searching for a certain answer. I'm rarely looking for that. I'm more curious about like the journey and what's actually gonna happen versus like all these theories and whatnot. And that's been a big thing is like, I remember talking to Brian, this was forever ago, but trying to turn theory into actual like context and actual using experiences to then that make something tangible, whether it's a podcast, whether it's a book, whether it's whatever technologies out there that I don't even know about. I am curious, to what's going to be as big as the next TikTok. Like I feel like I'm wondering, and there's NFTs, there's the NFT space that I'm so curious about it. But man, every time I think about diving in, I don't get a headache, but I guess I'm scared of it. Because I don't know. There's so much unknown in NFT space, and then the people who are in it, they're spending millions of dollars. And I was saying actually, Brian, not a long time ago, but it was earlier or late 2021 at some point where I'm like, dude, like, because even then, like, as far as NFT spaces and metaverse, and now that I have going back to Oculus, but anyways, I'm like, bro, like, but all these companies are in there now, and they're spending millions, and then people who have, but a million or whatever, 10 million followers on TikTok, they're investing into NFTs, and these people who are artists, their art's becoming worth hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars, eventually after so many sales. Um, but it's like I feel like I'm just so far away from that. Um, and that podcasting is going to be a thing of the past. So it's like, okay, what's going to be? Where can I go with this? I like doing this. Again, going back to eventually, I really like to. Um, I'm working to get guests back on, figuring out that whole situation. But um, it's like what I don't know. I don't know where certain tech and things are going. And it's stuff that interests me because I guess I'm very interested in the culture aspect, like, and these phases that we kind of go through, like back when MySpace was a thing. I mean, that was a long time. I mean, that was a long time ago, and I remember hearing about MySpace, and I remember being fearful about that. But eventually, I got one, and people already had one. Then that kind of fell off because Facebook became a thing, and then YouTube. We didn't even know what YouTube was, and then Instagram was a thing, and I hadn't even heard. I mean, because if I try to tie in like Bitcoin, like in 2010, I did not know about Bitcoin at all, and even when I was in college, like I was already in business school, taking taking business classes. It's fucking redundant. Um, but nonetheless, I was in the scope of business, and I guess maybe also because I was so involved in like the management and leadership aspect of it. That really is what took my attention. I was really interested in that. I had some awesome teachers, I had some professors, some awesome students that I made friends with. That were, I don't know, I don't know them now. We didn't keep communications after college, but nonetheless, during the college experience, I got to really we got to have a little bond of people that we all went through these classes together. But anyway, I guess to top that point of like what I do wonder what's the next big thing. I do wonder what's going to motivate the next generation of workers. Because anybody that's 18 to 25 right now, 18 to 23 and 25, anybody that's in that age range right now, the majority of them are working, and there's a lot of blue collar stuff coming up. It's pretty cool. And I remember making that claim, back in 2017 when I started this podcast, and maybe even a little bit sooner, where I was like, hey, trade school is going to be the way to go because everybody has a degree. I mean, there's thousands of us that, I graduated college in 2015. So a bunch of us have a degree. And it's like trade school is not going to be a bad thing because we're going to need people to be able to do those things. And I've mentioned that even more recently, but it's still for me, it's a matter of fact. And so, yeah, so now at the 18s and the 16s and because in most, I think most ages at 16 you can start working. So that crew's starting to work and figure out they're figuring out their path and what they want, hopefully adventure enough around different scopes of practice to see what they actually want to do, whether it's something conventional like doctor or lawyer or doctor, lawyer. I'm trying to think of something like dentist, whatever. It doesn't matter. So then we have obviously like our blue collar stuff, which is like mechanic, plumber, HVAC. Those are all big things that they've always been around because we need them. But I feel like actually there was definitely a phase of, and I was part of it, where it's like you need to go to college and you get your degree and then go and find a good job, and that's definitely phased out. You look at TikTok, all these people TikTok. I mean, YouTube too. It's not just TikTok, but I am curious to see what apps. Because I guess I'm assuming it's gonna be an app that's gonna be the next big hit. Maybe it's not. I don't know. So yeah, we're gonna start wrapping up here pretty soon. Hit 23 minutes. So I thought that was pretty good. Make sure I got all my. So yeah, process improvements, new generations motivation is what I titled that part, and then my process right now, and I put what's my goal. That's a great question, and that's really the ultimate question that I have right now too. Is like, what am I trying to do out of this process improvement? I don't know. I just know I like trying to make things better, and if I can figure out the best way to do something and minimize the amount of time I have to use in that. I guess because time's so important to me. I know time over money. That's always been kind of right in the middle. I'm not gonna say at the forefront because at the forefront is my creativity and my thoughts and the process itself. But the time over money, I think, because that's so important, it's like how can I maximize what I can do in the smallest amount of time, and still have the best quality work that I can, because I'll tell you, I know I lose sleep when I don't give my best product. And even now, even sometimes when I do podcasts and when I do recordings or if I make a short video and there's sometimes where it's like I do it because I know I need to get it out of my system. But then there have been times in the past I feel like it's gotten better because I'm trying to improve my process. I'm trying to improve the process at the beginning so that the tail end's kind of set on its own. But I lost my train of thought. Oh, what's my goal? So I can go. So I don't know what my goal is out of all this. I just know I like making things better. I know a goal is eventually I will go back to Texas. That's a more tangible thing. But because I guess to keep going is like another thing. Because another thing is that I'm still pondering on my my values. I've been, again, in Power of Myth, there's a part in the beginning, I've literally been reading one page at a time, paragraph at a time, just the way I read it the first time, back in 2016, 2016. Um, searching for meaning versus the experience of meaning, which is what Joseph Campbell talks about. And then, um, and this book was written in the 80s, and one part here on page 5-ish talks about, like, at that time he was already talking about how people use things and goals to create this outer value, and we look for this outer um we look for this outer acceptance and affirmation, and we don't look in enough and work outward. And I talked about that. I think I talked about that just last week. I think I talked about that, where it's like, I do try to work in and then work my way out. Because that has seemed to be the best fit, and I'm certain that this book has a lot of influence on that thought and that way of thinking, um, because it's been part of the journey where I have, um, even at the end of the day, it's always made the most sense for me. And every time I'm like, no, it is inward and outward. Sometimes dove I've gone too deep in thought where I get lost, and then I have down times, and I'm like, I don't just don't feel like doing anything, stuff like that. Um, but nonetheless, when I'm able to kind of like start digging myself out of this hole, and it's like, but it still makes sense to dive into my own thoughts and what my goals are, because I'm still pondering on it. I'm still pondering on it today. Um, and I the only thing I feel like more certain than I did, a year ago, is that I like improving processes of things that I'm involved in, you know. Um, and so the what have like to say I have to try to think of a goal I have for that. It's like, how can I make the process better? And for it's a pot again, I guess in what I'm doing is the podcast. So that's one process I'd like to improve. Um, it's gonna be it's a slow burn. It's because it has to be, right now. It's not that I'm not thinking about the future of it. I'm not thinking about, like, okay, I want to do X, Y, and Z, but also taking advantage of the time that I have now to think a lot, so that I can, when the time comes, I can hit the ground running and just and literally sprint. Sprint. That's the goal, is to sprint eventually. Oh, there you go. Like me talking out loud right now. I'm like, oh, I'd like to eventually sprint for this podcast. Um, Figuratively, of course. I'm still trying to run, my 10 minutes a day. That's my goal as far as my physical. Um, and then one thing that I'd like to I'd like to try to bring along with, like, um what did I write the other day? It was, um check-in Fridays is kind of one of the themes that I have in my head. But I'll see. Sometimes I work on Friday, so I can't always do every Friday. Nonetheless, um, one thing I think I heard this on maybe Gary Vee or maybe Jordan Peterson, like, in these past few days. But, um, what's today's takeaway? It sounds like and it feels like it was Jordan Peterson, but it's like, what's today's takeaway? And it's like, okay, so I wrote it down because I feel like that's another thing I'd like to run with, as we continue through this adventure of virtual things. And then when I'm not able to do virtual things, but if I'm talking to you in person, you know, or online on social media, um, ever getting if there's ever a point where it's like, I don't know, and it's like, okay, well, what's today's takeaway that was I able to get something good out of this, and go from there. Um, so I'm ready to wrap it up. We're reaching the 30-minute mark, which is just fine with me. My takeaway today is I'd like to make the process better in whatever I'm in. Um, I'm not trying to be, um, master of one. I am more of a jack of all trades. Um, just because a lot of things interest me. I talked about football already. I've talked a little about business, just as as far as stock market. I like reading. Podcast helps me kind of talk about everything that I'm interested in. I'm not niche oriented, which, what do you? I mean, that's part of. I'm not. I can't say it's a value or a goal, but that's one thing about myself. Like, I like many things. And so I'm just navigating through those things to see how I can best bring value to you. And hopefully, through my talking for now in this one way conversation, through my talking, hopefully, I can leave you some value and some questions and thoughts of my own that you can then ponder on for yourself. Because ultimately, that's the goal: is unloading information so that you can load information. Then you can do your own unloading however you see fit. So, without further points that I have for today, I may get on tomorrow, I may not, but nonetheless, enjoy the rest of your Wednesday. And I mean, it depends what time you have to go to sleep, but it depends where you're listening from too. But nonetheless, we'll see you all very soon. Take care of yourself, mentally and physically. Lead from the front if you have a team, if you're a manager, if you're a leader of some sort. Um, take care of your household. Help people, ask questions. If you're in charge, ask for help when you need it to. I'm still learning that. I'm trying to get better. I feel like I have, but sometimes it is difficult for me to ask for help. So I am with you as far as asking for help. But nonetheless, we need to ask for help more and not be scared to ask for help. Um, enjoy the rest of your week. If I don't see you tomorrow, and if I'm able to see you in person, if you shoot me a text or an email, we'll see you very, very soon. Y'all have a good night.